Hi Colts! We have our ingredients here to make a ragu sauce. Now ragu sauce is usually really chunky and meaty, but I don't have any meat that's not frozen rock solid hard. So we're not going to use meat in this one. It's going to be a vegetarian ragu. And instead of meat, we're going to use some mushrooms. So we have our ingredients here for our ragu sauce. And if you want to come in a little closer, I'll show you. I got these mushrooms and I kind of chopped them lightly. I didn't like really dice them really small or slice them. They're just kind of roughly chopped. This garlic is minced. This is, I think it's 4 cloves of garlic. Okay, so here I have 3 different types of tomatoes. I have diced tomatoes. I have 2 big cans of that. I have tomato sauce, which is, so the diced tomatoes have chunks of tomatoes in it. The tomato sauce is just liquid tomato. And the tomato paste is really, really thick tomato. And this is going to give it a good texture to it. So I like to include tomato paste, even though it might seem weird because we are going to add water to this. But trust me, it's what you need. So for our spices, we have, of course, salt and pepper. We're going to use some generic Italian seasoning. And then we have kind of a seasoned blend of oregano, onion powder, basil leaves. If you have whole basil leaves, that's totally fine. You can use that instead. We have garlic powder, some thyme, some dill, and you're probably thinking, wow, that's crazy. Why would you put dill in spaghetti sauce? But trust me, it's actually really good as long as you don't use too much. Parsley and red sage. The red sage is really strong, so just like the dill, we're not going to add a lot of it, but it does give it a nice little extra, I don't know, like dimension of flavor. Okay, so I'm going to start by sauteing the mushrooms and sauteing the garlic a little bit, not too much because it can burn really easily. So I'm going to add some olive oil in the pan. And I know it's Italian food, but I am going to add butter because I love the way mushrooms taste when it's sauteed with butter. So I'm going to heat that up, about medium high, and I'm going to heat up the butter in the oil. And let that melt. I'm going to use a spoon because it's full. Look what it can do. No hands, Mom. See? Okay, so you can see the butter is melting in the olive oil. So you can see our butter is melted into the olive oil. And now I'm going to add mushrooms. Get those nice and coated in the butter and the olive oil. The fats are going to help bring out the flavor of the mushrooms. I'm also going to add some salt now, and pepper, and generic Italian seasoning. Fun fact, you can't really burn mushrooms. You could cook it here all day, and it would still be fine to eat. Yes, Robert? It's even getting a little bit brown. I'm going to let this mushrooms cook for about 5 minutes, but if I forget, it's fine. They're not going to burn, it'll be totally fine. So it's been about 5 minutes. I'm going to add the garlic, which we don't want to burn, so I'm only going to cook it for like maybe a minute. You add that garlic, it's going to smell real good in here. After the garlic cooks a little bit more, we are going to go ahead and If you're cooking this with meat, you would want to drain the meat to get all of the extra meat fat out. But because we're not using meat, I think it's okay to go ahead and just move on to making the rest of the sauce. Because having a little extra olive oil or butter in your sauce will taste fine. But I think having extra grease from meat doesn't taste very good. So, right, those guys are starting to cook. How does it smell?
Smells great.
Okay, here we go. We're going to start just throwing in our tomatoes. Lower the heat, because it's going to pop.
Yep.
When the water from the tomato sauce mixes with the oil from the olive oil and butter, it's gonna be a little angry at first, but that'll pass. There, see? It's chill now. Chill. But as you continue to cook it, it will get hot and it'll pop up at you. So I am probably gonna keep it at this medium-low temperature for a while. After I add in all the spices, I'm gonna let it cook for a while. Okay. Diced tomatoes. Some people might not add 2 cans, but I really like diced tomatoes. But if you just want to add 1 can, then that's totally fine. Or if you want to use stewed tomatoes instead of diced tomatoes, you could do that too. But I think that the chunks are bigger and it's not as good for pasta. I use stewed tomatoes in stews though. Okay, so now we're gonna add tomato paste. Look at that, guys. You see how it's all messed up? It's because I used it on a surface that was way too hot and it just melted into each other. But now I can use it for stuff like this. So, you can help me taste the sauce, and I would really love your help rolling the pasta dough.
Yay! I love that part.
Okay, well I'm not ready for a taster or a roller yet, so you can go play.
I'll wait here.
Look at this, Colts. When I opened the tomato paste, I saw this little cone inside. Like someone stuck their finger in it. Isn't that weird?
Can I see Mom?
You got it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that means. I guess it's the way the factory canned the tomato stuff, paste.
Oh yeah.
If you... Robert, go ahead. If you get a can of food and it's bulging outwards, do not eat it, because that means it has really bad bacteria inside. But a can of food that's missing some food, I don't know what that means. Well, look at that, our sauce is starting to pop. So we have the tomato paste in. And now I'm going to add a can of water. Look at that texture. It's weird, right? I want to say it's like a really gooey Play-Doh. You gotta spread it throughout our sauce. And it's gonna sort of like hold the sauce together. Yeah, I have to be really careful mixing because it's gonna flow over the side of the pan. Alright, that's good for now. I'm gonna mix it in a little bit more later, but for now, we're gonna add the main event. All our spices. So, unfortunately, I've never measured the spices before when I made this, but I'm gonna try to make an estimate. That means I'm gonna try to guess what the amount is as I add it. I'm going to give you my best estimate. So, for oregano, I'm going to add I think this might be 2 teaspoons. Yeah, it's probably about 2 teaspoons. For powder. I think this is maybe 1/2 of a teaspoon. For basil, this is more like a teaspoon. I hope so. Garlic powder, I'm gonna add 1/2 a teaspoon for now. I usually add some more later. For thyme, I'm almost out. We're gonna add this whole bit. I think that's 1/2 a teaspoon. Now dill, like I said, we're not gonna add a lot, but it's gonna make it taste good. Yeah, that's like what you would call a pinch, which is equivalent to about 1/8 teaspoon. So a pinch of dill. Ooh, did you see that pop?
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. I'm going to lower the temperature a little bit more and give it a tiny bit of a stir. All right, now we're going to add rubbed sage. This is very strong. This is another one where we're just going to add a pinch of it, okay? And parsley, you can go nuts with parsley. Probably another 2 teaspoons. And I might add more later. Okay, a little more. Okay. Oh, and of course, did I already add salt and pepper? Either way, I'm gonna add some more. Every family is different as far as how much they like their food to be salted. So if you taste your sauce and you feel like you can't quite taste the seasoning, you might not need to add more seasoning. You might just need to add more salt. Some people like to add sugar to their tomato sauce, but I don't. I think it tastes good without sugar. But if you see some recipes that do call for adding sugar, then that's fine. That's probably like more authentic than how I make it. I like it to taste like this. Okay, so you can see as I stir, I'm kind of like picking it up and dropping it because I really don't want to over mix so that the sauce flies out of it. I'm not concerned about making my pasta sauce dense, like you don't over mix cookies or cakes. The sauce, you mix it as much as you want to. I'm just trying not to spill it. I'm gonna give it a taste, so I want to see what it tastes like right now. But as you let it simmer, which means as you let it cook at a really low temperature for a while, as you let it simmer, the flavors are going to come out more. So you might taste it now and think, oh, it needs more onion. But then later, as the onion comes out more, you won't need so much. So let's just see what it tastes like right now. When I do a taste test, I try not to get any tomato or mushroom or a big chunk of garlic. I just want to taste the sauce. It needs more salt. And I think it needs more oregano too. Where is that? There it is. It kind of looks like that scene from The Labyrinth, right? When they're in the stinking pits. That's what I always thought of when I saw this. So I'm going to stir that and I'm going to let it cook for probably another 10 or so minutes, and then we'll test it again. Okay, for now, because I don't want the sauce to go popping everywhere and making a huge mess all over the counter and the molcajete and everything, I'm going to just cover it. Alright, what if you cover your sauce to let it simmer, make sure that there is some space so that some of the steam can get out. Otherwise, your sauce is going to be really watery. I'm just going to let that chill for a little bit, and it is on low, so that's cool. All right, I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, so I just turned it off and took the lid off, and here's what it looks like right now. Pretty much the same as how we left it. I would change anything else. I think I might add more garlic. Good. I think I'm going to add more garlic and pepper. So here's another, I think, teaspoon or maybe 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. And for pepper, instead of that coarse pepper, I'm going to add ground pepper instead. That's a ½ teaspoon, I think. Yeah, let's leave it at that for now. Yeah, I think I was too light on the garlic the first time. I might add even more. Dried minced garlic. You don't have to add this, but I'm gonna add some more of this. Some little garlic chunks and some bites. Let's see how that tastes. Yeah, it needed more garlic. Okay, and salt. Salt too. If you ever add too much salt to a dish, all you gotta do is throw in a potato. Like, cut it up a little bit, and the potato will soak up the salt. This Ragu sauce is looking good.